The world of robotics, both humanoid and other forms, is now in high gear. Several groundbreaking news and announcements just in the last month. First, we have Amazon announcing they're beginning to test Digit in their warehouses. Tesla has been hiring many new roles, including night shifts, to help scale the building of bots. And in a very big move, and not to be outdone, the Chinese government has announced a project to ensure mass production of humanoid bots by 2025 and aiming for world leadership by 2027. Today, we'll be speaking with Scott Walter. He's an aerospace engineer with a Ph.D. in mechanical engineering and has co-founded 2 robotics companies. Welcome, Scott. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, hi, Herbert. It's nice to be back after my little travels, my little hiatus there. And of course, things happened while I was gone.
So you and I have done many videos on bots. You've become the expert for us to kind of unearth what's going on with Tesla bots, but there's just so many news. We've been covering every bot out there. So this news, I think, is very big. This is the Chinese government saying that they need to make a big push, make big investment to make sure that they don't fall behind in bots. As you can imagine why, they are the export hub of the world. They're the manufacturing hub of the world. And as bots take over, they need to be front and center. So what we've got here is a report that says China says humanoid robots are a new engine of growth, pushes for mass production by 2025. That's very recent, like soon, and world leadership by 2027. So they release a 9-page guideline urging innovation, supply chain, and competitiveness in this area. And they specifically call out humanoid robots for use in harsh and dangerous situations. Tesla Bot Journal kind of reported on this, saying that it was China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology that issued that guideline paper. And these are the 4 things that they said in that paper. They want to establish a humanoid robot innovation system, make breakthroughs in key technologies, and ensure supply of core components by 2025. They want to have humanoid robots should become an important new engine of growth by 2027. So that has to be pretty mass scale by then. And the robots in the manufacturing sector is the priority. Again, like we're saying, they cannot lose that golden gem that they have. And then this is directed to industry to focus on the brain, the cerebellum, and limbs. That's interesting, led by breakthroughs in AI. Those are the 3 things we've been talking about, but the brain and then being able to walk and the hands. But here they're talking limbs and cerebellum. So tell me what you're thinking about that.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not surprised that at least one government realizes that the next gold rush is going to be the humanoid robot. So it's not just Tesla that's been out there doing it. There are a lot of other companies that are doing it. And we're also seeing venture capital money going into a lot of these other ventures. So at least one government's woken up and says, this is important. And so it's sort of a clarion call to some of the other governments to start thinking about what they need to do to get these industries up, running. Otherwise, there's going to be, whoever gets there first is going to dominate. And I think Hans sort of nailed it right the other day when he talked about there's a lot of other reasons. One, of course, is a demographic push that there's going to be sort of a population collapse going in China in the next decade or 2, and they need to be able to backfill those jobs. But at the same time, if they want to be a worldwide leader, this is going to be the new emerging technology. It's going to be very important. They don't want to be left behind. And they're really thinking through strategically, certainly the supply chains and everything. They have a huge engineering workforce over there, unlike here in the US. They're graduating 10 times the number of engineers per year, 800,000 versus about 80,000 in the US. So that is a significant advantage that China's going to have to be able to do this development. And of course, they've identified what we've always said is sort of the key thing to humanoid robot, and that's the brain. They want to improve a little bit in the limb design and things like that in the actuators. It's always nice to be able to get some sort of improvement there. But in the end, it's going to be the brain, it's going to be the AI. They've recognized that, and they see that this is something they do not want to be in second place. And so hopefully the policymakers here in this country begin to think about that. And I think the third reason going on there, besides demographics and wanting to be a leader in this technology, is also the workforce over there is becoming more educated and doesn't want to do a lot of these repetitive and boring kind of tasks. And we've even seen it in China that it used to be you put all of the sort of low-cost operations in China, but eventually the wages went up there that they started moving to other countries like Vietnam and Thailand and somewhere else, which happened to Japan as well. Japan used to be very cheap. And then as the middle class grew, suddenly it moved somewhere else. So now China has to figure out how to fix that. And it turns out a lot of these Chinese workers are actually demanding better workplace environment and everything else. So a lot of the employers are thinking, well, if that's going to happen, we have to pay them a higher wage. We're going to automate our way out of it. So there's sort of another reason there, an economic reason to want to start to automate a little bit more, because they're realizing their labor costs are starting to get pretty high if they want to remain competitive with the rest of the world.
Right. Okay. So we know that this is a government making a big push, which is so wonderful. We're going to want to hear that here, but there's many private companies, and we've been sharing already that there's tremendous movement by humanoid robots everywhere. This is here. They're already working now. And you and I have been saying this for the last several months, and people are going, no, it's going to be years from now. They're here. And we're going to talk about Amazon. We're going to show some videos. We're going to talk about Tesla's move in this space as well. So let's talk Amazon. They announced this last week, and they basically said Amazon begins testing Agility's Digit robot for warehouse work. This is Digit on the right here, and this is just a beautiful photo where they're working side by side. You call that co-robotics. They're side by side. And you and I have done several videos on Digit, and the fact that the company Agility has actually started to plan out a massive factory in Oregon to mass produce these bots. 10,000 bots per year is their goal. And so the announcement is that Amazon announced that it will begin testing of Agility's bipedal robot Digit in its facilities. And there's a robotics chief technologist that works at Amazon. And the testing is in very, very early stages. We're taking a lot of care to understand it better, to see if there's a fit for our processes. And then the article says, reading between the lines here, there's no guarantee that Amazon will actually begin deploying Digit, but it's going to be in Seattle, and north of 750,000 robot systems is what they currently have. So they'll likely explore it. They announced a $1 billion industrial innovation fund. Agility was one of the initial round of 5 firms receiving a cut of that investment. So I didn't know that. They actually invested in Agility. So let's take a look at some videos here. This is Agility in action. Now, of course, they sped up this video, so it's not so slow. This dude is fairly slow, but it's basically pick and place, right? Nothing fancy. They walk around, they grab an item, and they put it back into another location. And what's unique about them is that it doesn't have to be exactly in that one spot to pick it up, and it doesn't have to be put down exactly one spot. Tell me what you're seeing here.
Right. Now, so this is a very specialized version of pick and place. These are totes. And like you say, the accuracy is really not that important. What will be important is speed over time, to be able to pack and unpack those things really quickly. Because the real dexterous kind of operations are being done by the humans. So the humans are going in and actually picking the items out of it. But there is a lot of this very simple kind of picking and placing that's going on that does not require, even though it's called Digit, doesn't actually need digits. So the hand, as you can see, is more or less like a mitten that is able to give it enough surface area to be able to grab these totes and move them around. And so it's a very niche kind of application in the warehouse, but it doesn't mean that it can't grow into other areas eventually as they learn more and as, let's say, the hand becomes a bit more dexterous. So this is the first kind of application, and Amazon's a perfect fit because of the amount of totes they are moving around constantly in those fulfillment centers.
They walk slow. Okay. I'm going to show another video that you shared here where the Digit fell down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what we're looking here.
Okay, so they intentionally turned off the obstacle avoidance system to make sure it would fall down. And notice they didn't take a hockey stick to it or anything else. So unlike all those other videos where you see the humans abusing it, you see it's come around here and it's figuring out what it has to do to get itself to stand up. So either it's gone through some sort of machine learning, or they sort of figured out a particular routine in order to do that. Now, it's a bit strange because remember, what you think are the knees are pointing backwards. And I've sort of told you before, it's not actually the knees, it's actually the ankle, just because things are a little bit different in size. But the other thing you might notice is something I hadn't noticed before in Digit. At the very beginning, when it was walking backwards, its head was turned around, and I didn't realize it could turn its head. I wasn't sure if they actually had a degree of freedom there. So you see what normally is the front-facing part is backwards there. So it's walking backwards and it falls down. And if you look at the other images of Digit, you'll see that the camera systems that's actually in the front. So that appears to be something interesting we've learned. And that's pretty cool, that maneuver, to be able to get over. So you can be face down and then push yourself right back up. So, and that's going to be important because they're just going to fall down all the time. I mean, part of it because a human's going to just want to just do that anyway, or we're all klutzes too. We fall down all the time for no reason. So it's no surprise that would happen with the bots. So there's two things the bots have to learn to do: not just get up, but to fall gracefully. And I haven't seen them teaching them falling gracefully. Boston Dynamics, when it falls, just face plants. It's like, I mean, wouldn't you just do something? It just says, oh, that's it. I'm going down.
And they need to know that because they're carrying items and the items have different weights and they need to figure out how to do that. You told me this, you told me that fact a while back. So my point that people need to realize is that bots are here. It's not that Digit or this agility company, Digit, has any massive brain. It doesn't necessarily need to have, the ability to fold laundry. It just needs to be able to identify an item, grab it with just not even fingers, move it. And this pick and place is already here. They can balance and it's already being used. It's going to be, once they become faster, they'll be deployed already. So there's no reason why people are saying that, oh, we're not going to see Tesla bot or other bots being, not yet ready. They're already ready.
Correct. Because it's a niche application. It's the simplest pick and place. It's not assembly, because a lot of assembly is also picking and placing, digging things that you don't have the dexterity that's in there. Perfect application is going to work. And, you always can build on top of that. It's the low hanging fruit. You go for that, you prove it, you come up with the economic case, you show that mechanically is going to do it. You then have to figure out, how do I go to the next step? So that's important. Now, I'm going to step out on a limb here because this is a little bit of deja vu all over again. Because if you remember, maybe it was like 10 years ago or so, there was a company out there called Giga Robotics from Austria that had this little mobile robot that was being able to use to bring things around in warehouses. So it was basically like a Roomba on steroids. Mm-hmm. And Amazon was so intrigued with the company, they ended up buying them. And they're deploying 1,000 robots a day throughout Amazon, which means each year about 365,000 of these bots are going into their fulfillment centers around the world. And they want to have millions of these in their factories within, I think, the next 4 to 5 years. So they went in heavy on that. They know a lot about robotics. There's different kinds of robotics. Mobile robotics is very different than your normal kind of articulated robotics, but still very important and be able to move around. And they've redesigned their fulfillment centers around this idea that they go find these what they need for the fulfillment, exactly like you see here, and they bring it to the human that is just going to be picking places. So the human does not have to actually walk around and find anything. Everything is there and it shows up right on time. So logistically, it's amazing what they have to do to be able to do this. But there's still another aspect of this that has to be done, and that we need to return the totes and everything like that when they're empty. So now Digit's going to start to go in there and fill that particular niche or need, so that the operators that are doing the picking and the fulfillment are not distracted with some other little tedious task that they have to do. They can remain focused on that. And eventually Digit might go in there and replace the humans when it has, like, let's say, better picking capabilities. There's no reason why it shouldn't be able to do that. So the idea that Amazon is starting to work with Digit and realizing that humanoid robots are going to be very important, and that they don't have, as far as we know of, a humanoid robot project going on within Amazon.
Yes,
here. Exactly. Yes. I would not be surprised to see whether Amazon decides to actually buy Agility eventually. They've done that before.
This human is placing in there.
Yes. And when those totes are done, those totes have to be returned. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, now I'm going to take the tote and put it somewhere else. So just let me pick this and then let the tote return be done. So Digit will be behind there, pull the tote out, go ahead and put it in the return.
What we're seeing here is multiple different variations of the bot. This is one of those bots that you've worked with, which is an industrial robot. This is the companies you founded. Then you've got those Roomba-like bots. Then you've got humanoid bots. Then you even told me that sometimes you want humanoid bots that roll on wheels. Every one of these has different scenarios where they're important.
Yes. Yeah. And now that standard industrial bot is basically the very end of the line, that we have all these boxes that are being filled with whatever it is the customer wants. So the humans are just putting these boxes together, and those boxes go down these conveyors, and eventually they have different destinations, and they get sorted based on that. And then they have to go on a big pallet. So they go in the back of the right truck. And so that pallet gets pretty big and heavy. And that's why you get this big robot, this big FANUC robot that particular robot's actually strong enough to lift a car body. And so it's just sort of picking up that pallet and then putting it on whatever conveyor system is going to be needed to make sure it goes to the right destination. So there's always a robot for a particular application, a particular need that you're going to see through there. They're not always the same. So it's interesting to see the little Kiva robots and then to see the traditional industrial arms there. And now you're going to start seeing the humanoid bots going on there. And now that means if Amazon is taking notice, a lot of other people are going to take notice, not just China, but maybe now policymakers are going to begin to realize this is very important, and we should start thinking about what we can do to spur that kind of industry on.
This is national security, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk Tesla. And this very recent video I'm about to play came out last week, or just actually a few days ago, where a Chinese news outlet was given permission to tour Giga Shanghai. And she revealed quite a number of things about the factory and how it works. But this one segment taught her talking about automation in Giga Shanghai. Let's play that right now.
At the factory, you can barely see any staff, right? That is because the majority of the production process here are completed by robotic arms, as you can see behind me. And all of them are also connected to one cloud system that registers every single movement of the robotic arms and tools. And employees will oversee the whole process to make sure that everything is assembled as it should be.
Okay, so that's what you expect. So you were able to see that you had safety fencing around there to make sure no one is in there. So no one is supposed to be back in there anyways. That's why you're not seeing anyone. And it is designed to be able to do all the tasks that are necessary. So there's a process that's going on, which is welding and clinching or whatever other process might be going on. And then there's going to be the process of taking the finished good and moving it to somewhere else, and then taking the next piece that needs to be operated on and bringing that in. So a lot of that can be automated up to some point. But what you might not be seeing is at the very beginning of the process, there might still be these human operators that are taking the pieces of sheet metal out of the bins and then dropping them in, as we've seen in the past. So that kind of automation is not really that surprising, because you see that throughout the automation anyways in the typical body in white, and that the humans that are around there are basically to supervise what is going on. So they're to check on the robots. If there's a robot fault, and they got to go in there, which means they have to hit a safety and e-stop, everything stops, and they're allowed to walk in there, do something, and kind of come out. So they're getting more and more automation in there, which is a good sign. The question is, how much have they removed from before, which I'd like to know. And there was an intriguing comment from the Tesla VP of operations there in Shanghai about the automation process, or about the welding process.
Sure. Let me share that. So this is a separate thing now. This is Grace Tao, who works for Tesla. She's the VP of External Affairs. She's kind of the face for Giga Shanghai. And she was also interviewed just very recently. And what she said, there we go. This is what she said. She named a few things, right? Number one, she said that Giga Shanghai can now, their production lines can produce one car every 30 seconds. She talked about the R&D department in Giga Shanghai being responsible for much of the feature improvements in Tesla's Model 3 Highland. And then the two big ones, I just said that a car every 30 seconds, but the other one is she said that now in the welding workshop, automation is now close to 100%. Yeah.
Okay. And so what I want to understand is what they mean by automation in the welding workshop, whether that's everything of the movement of material that has to go in, as well as the welding. So the assumption is that all of the welding was probably automated already. So the robot should be able to do 100% of it. Occasionally there might be, I'm not aware of anywhere in automotive, but I've seen it in other kind of industries where sometimes the robots can get 95, 98% of all the welds, and a couple that are just really hard to get to. And it's like, it's just easier to have the human go in and do a few things. I don't think that's the case there. So everything should be automated. The other part is, of course, is going to be feeding the material that we've seen before, where an operator is taking the sheet metal and then putting it into one of the fixtures that a robot then comes over and takes. And that's the part that I think has never been automated, and is what Optimus is going to automate. And I'm kind of intrigued to figure out whether they've been able to reduce that already with traditional automation, in which case, and maybe Optimus isn't going to be needed. So it's an intriguing statement, nonetheless, to see what it is that they've done to reduce that, and whether they've actually reduced the headcount on the automation lines for welding.
Sure. I think welding makes sense. I've done so many videos with you, and I just keep referring back to some videos where we showed the welding bots coming in,
Yeah.
and you showed that sometimes the humans, there's a cage to protect them. But now with humanoid robots, you wouldn't need to have the cage. They can go right in, and it's like a dance. These guys
Yes.
are welding away this massive industrial arms. And then you've got the robot. But maybe, like you said, the welding part, they don't need to do it. I want to share this, which is this image of the plan for Tesla to move from a traditional car assembly, which is the top here, to this new unboxed approach they're working towards. The traditional car assembly, you can see here how the car is put together, one piece by piece as it moves down the assembly line. And so you have to wait. Robots and humans have to wait until it kind of gets to your part, then you do it. But the unbox process, they break down the car into multiple modules and then they connect it together like Legos later. And so you got the front part, the middle side, the mid sides, the roof. And each of these parts, you can actually have humans working on it separately. And then once they're done, they're all connected together and the painting happens. You don't have to, save so much time in painting how they do it. But the point being that right now you can see 3 humans here, 3 humans here, 3 humans here, 2 here, and so forth. But every one of those could be eventually replaced by bots. So I'm going to play another video of how the Tesla Model Y is built today. I don't know if you've seen this yet, Scott.
I've seen it, and I was flabbergasted when I saw it. I didn't realize it was that easy to put together. So I could just mail order the parts and then put it together in my garage.
Every one of us could do this on our own. And so this is how Tesla today, with the Model Y today, and how they build it, they do it in such a way that it's plug and play. I'll just play a little bit of it. Let's watch it.
Lee Han is with business development at TerraSoft, and he's going to show us the modularity that Tesla is using on the Model S. And Han, you can take it from here.
Yes, okay. Hello, everybody. So here we are in front of the Tesla Model Y. This is the Austin version. You can notice the Giga casting here. So it's only one big piece of Giga casting. Is a U-shaped. So the operator can go inside, start assembly the vehicle from the inside and go toward the exterior. And then you will see we will close the car at the end. So here we have already one nice part. So it's the coal, but it's also the water box. So there is 2 parts in one. So they eliminated complexity with 1 part less on the vehicle. Okay, so here we have the cooling beam. Can I help you? Yes. We have the cooling beam. So the cooling beam is a beam with all the elements, components for the cooling system, except the radiator. So you have the accumulator, condenser, compressor, octavalve here. So this is a complete cooling system, and is compressed in all this beam. This beam is common on the different models of Tesla. So they use exactly the same beam with a small modification from one version to another. And every modification that you do, for example, on the accumulator will be automatically transmitted to the rest of the models, okay?
And one thing that you pointed out is all the bolts go in from the top down.
All the bolts here in this area from the top down are vertical.
Oh my gosh, that is an amazing video. But you can see here that today it's designed, one human needed a second human to carry one part. They place it in there. Many of the parts he shows you, they don't need bolts. They just push it in and they snap in. And then the ones that do need bolts, they're all coming from the top. He does ask, I cut it too short. He asked the guy, could this be replaced by bots? And he just said, maybe, but the answer is yes.
It's very easy for the bot. It looks like very easy. And because if you make it easy for the humans, you're going to make it even easier for the bots. Again, it's that first principles thinking that's going on in there. I think Hans nailed it pretty well the other day when you talked about this, that traditionally the engineers sit in a completely different building and manufacturing is somewhere else. Sometimes it's in another state. So you don't have the people working very closely together to understand what the real problems are. At Tesla, the engineers, they don't have an office. Their office is basically the floor. You've got to be down there and you've got to understand what's going on and what those problems are. That's why you solve it. And that's why you come up with something that's elegant like that. So the Giga casting is very open to make it very easy to go in to get access to what you need. And then you kind of build back. And this idea that, well, then you have this one part that you're going to put in there. Well, that beam that's going across there, that's not just to hold those components in place. That's also part of the structural integrity of the car. So that goes in there. So it has kind of the dual purpose. You're not just hanging those things on there. It's also making it a bit more rigid. And again, it's so easy to come in and just go zip, zip, zip down there with your nut drivers, as opposed to if you have to come from behind at a weird angle or something like that. So anyone that's ever worked on their cars in the past, you know how difficult they are. And I think I've told this story before of trying to replace the battery in my 2009 and 2013. We have two Dodge Journeys, and it turns out the battery is in the wheel well. To replace the battery, you have to remove the front tire, remove the wheel well, get in there, need a special tool to be able to get it out, and it's a special form factor battery for a maintenance item. Now, you tell me that's well engineered. So, I mean, this is the idea. It's like you can have people that just come up with things that are really kludgy, or you come with something that's elegant where things are dropping in. And then later on, he shows like the bumpers. They're just like, whoop, you drop them down there, and there's no way you can get the part backwards. It's what they call pokioki, where you're able to, there's only one way something fits in. So like the plugs in your computer are designed in such a way that you can't put it in wrong. Like a light socket, again, it's designed in a way, there's like only one way that fits and you can't screw it up. So you make sure it's done. And then it's just incredibly elegant. And imagine that that's what it is right now. I can't wait to see the unbox process and how easy that's going to be and how things are just going to really snap together.
Yeah. So Tesla is not only making it more efficient, they're really designing it with the bot in mind already. And so this idea that we're going to have to wait years and years before it's a bot's in the shift, bots are going to be working there. Let's talk about Tesla and their hiring of new employees. Again, they're accelerating the number of employees that they're hiring. And that's another sign that bots are near. Let me share this. So Alexandra Mertz, she's known as Tesla Boomer Mama on X. And she noticed by looking through the career sections of Tesla's website, all of these new hires, and one of them is night shifts. That caught her eye. Wow, why do Tesla need to hire engineering technicians to do night shifts? And then she asked the question, what the heck means multi-degree of freedom, autonomous mobile robots? And so we've got you to help us answer that question.
Okay, so I looked at that quickly and I ended up having a discussion with Randy Kirk about this whole thing line by line. And my first take replying to Alexandra, it was that, wait a minute, it's multiple degree of freedom mobile robots. It's like that could be a fancy way of just saying a humanoid robot. Why don't they just come right out and say humanoid robot? Because they always do in the other job listings. If you take Tesla bot out of that title and read that thing, nowhere in there would you think it has anything to do with a humanoid robot. And I'm beginning to think not, because usually it's the Tesla bot team. No, this is Tesla's mobile robotics team, designs, builds, and deploys all these other products in their factory portfolio. And it tells me there's something else going on here, that mobile robots are very important within all these factories now. It's, as we see in the Amazon factory, moving things around, you also need them automotive, any kind of manufacturing, gives you the flexibility, and it is basically the lifeblood of the factory, making sure parts get to where they're supposed to at the right time and everything else. And there's a lot of companies out there making these mobile platforms, but the main challenge of these things is the logistics and the software to control and get all these things to go. And when I went through the whole thing, I didn't quite understand what the robotics team was. Where it's like, well, maybe that's just a team that is buying the bots and organizing them within Tesla and all the different factories. And we need some people that's doing that and setting it up. Or are we thinking of using these mobile robots for the Tesla bot production line? Is that why Tesla bot's up at the top? Something which is very strange. And it may have been a mistake that Tesla bot was at the top. It may have been that they really were talking about mobile robotics. And I was thinking that, well, is Tesla going to, there's no reason for Tesla to actually build their own mobile robots, just like they don't build their own industrial robot arms. They're building a humanoid bot because there's really none out there to buy. So there's plenty of them out there. So why would they want to do it? And then after talking to Randy, I said, okay, why would they want to build it? Because in order to build a mobile robot, you need, let me see, you need a drivetrain with electric motors, you need batteries, you need wheels, you need a sensor system, and something to make it autonomously drive. Did I just describe the Model 3? And I'm just like, of course they're building a mobile robot. They're saying it. And if you look at this next one, I think there's like another one down there. They talk about their portfolio of robotic products with the plural. They're not talking about humanoid bots. I'm telling you, Tesla is probably got they're building their own mobile robots because they realize the real problem is that anyone can build a mobile robot, really. I mean, the biggest challenge for a lot of them was like, oh, we need to get like 8 hours out of these things before they have to charge and all this other stuff. But the real challenge for all of them has been the software to coordinate how these things move around and don't get in the way and they show up in the right place. How many bots do we need? All that. And I'm like, okay, Tesla could do it. And, you might say, but the Model 3 actuators are overkill for these mobile robots, which are, maybe the size of a Roomba or a little bit bigger. Go-kart at the most. It's like, yeah, but, they are building those actuators for the Tesla bot. They could probably use them in other applications as well. And they're looking for like these technicians to come in and help them designing the next state of the art. I thought, well, I thought they already did that. They showed us slides of it and they've been making those things. It's like, no, continuous improvement. They're going to make them better and better. And they're probably going to say, hey, we need some for these other applications. So it sounds to me like Tesla robots is more than Tesla bot. It's going to be a lot more.
It is. I keep referring back to things we discovered a long time ago. We put up a tweet. I don't remember who said it, but it was an AI, somebody who worked at the Tesla AI team, FSD team, and they said, work on Tesla bot and other bot animals. And I pointed out to you going, bot animals? What? Yeah. These are bot
now, that
animals.
might be the quadrupeds. Mobile robot's not an animal, but
for anything. It's an animal when it moves and it thinks. It doesn't matter what its shape is. I don't know if it has to be like a quadruped or a dog-like thing, right? There's another video that I wanted to share, but you told me to do this one because I think apparently there's different kinds of bots out there, and you don't have to be the kind of bots that you think that you need to be. Yeah. So let's take a quick look at this.
Robot is
Tell me what we're looking at.
Hybrid motions to come.
It's an example of what looks like, a bot animal, which is a quadruped or almost like a dog. But you'll notice instead of feet, it's got wheels. And instead of hands, it's got wheels. And like Digit, it's going to surprise you on what it can do as far as going from being quadrupedal to bipedal to looking. Did you think that a bot that doesn't actually have hands can do something like that? That's amazing. And that's why, Digit doesn't need to have full hands. If you can do that with wheels, you can do it also with mittens. And what's interesting about this video from ETH is how they taught it using what they call curiosity-driven training. And so it's worth looking at that video, not just to see the configuration that's going on there, but exactly how they're going in there in the paper they've written on there of the robot being able to explore its environment. So the robot figured out how to open the door with like what aren't hands, and then it's able to go in and take the boxes and figure out how to throw them and make a basket out of them and stuff like that. I just find that remarkable that you can do that with AI. And it comes right down again saying that you don't need to have as much sensor technique in the hands and the dexterity in the hands that we keep on thinking. The hands that the Tesla bot has is probably going to be really good for doing a lot more things because it's all about the brain. It's all about the training sets and everything like that. So that's what I kind of find exciting about that is things you thought would not be able to do a task actually can do it now.
Yeah. And so Tesla can make not just humanoid bots, but many different forms. Here's one example. Other companies, many companies are going to be producing this. It's going to be really fun. Okay, let's keep going here and let's show some more science here. So another job posting Alexander pointed out is joined a team of electromagnetic motor design engineers to develop the most torque and force dense rotary and linear actuator systems in the world. Whoa, what are we looking at here?
All right, and here, it's not just Tesla bot in the title; they're mentioning it in there, and they want to make those actuators lighter and tighter. That's something that Elon has been talking about because to get to, let's say, the Tesla bot that was shown on AI Day 1, which looked very human-like, those actuators are going to have to get leaner and meaner, no doubt about it. So they are trying to make it better and better. That's very, very clear. And they do say, and it's the difference in this one here. They do talk about the bipedal robot, Tesla bot. It's in there. Whereas the other one was talking about the mobile robots. But I think there could be some connection between the two. And the thing about, Tesla clearly, as James Dalma said, he said, they've got all the pieces that they could put together a humanoid robot. And he just kind of speculated they could do that. Now, it's not idle speculation that they can make a mobile robot. That's like really super easy. So why would they want to do it? And the main thing is that a lot of the problem with the companies that produce these different pieces of automation equipment is that they are the vendors. They are not the customers. They are not the end user. They don't understand the customer problem the way the customer does. Tesla understands the problem, and they realize that it's a software issue that they all have. They're just not able to coordinate and organize it within the factory the way we want. We know how to do it. And now that we know how to do it, we also know how to build these things. Why don't we just go ahead and build them and put them in there? Because the mobile robots are out there. You know what they use for sensor? LiDAR. Guess what Tesla doesn't like for using for navigation is LiDAR. So you might say, hey, we could do it with cameras as well. So I'm pretty sure that we're seeing, it's looking like more than tea leaves to me there on what they're talking about.
The other job that Alexander found was for this one, triage test engineer, again, night shift and a weekend day. Whoa, they're they want to do 24 hours. Tell me what a triage test engineer is.
Okay. Well, it sounds to me that, if you didn't have Tesla bot in there, it would almost be like, well, when the factory is running, we need somebody to go out there and double check what's wrong with our industrial robots. What's wrong? Why is it not working? Is something snagged? Does the robot need some maintenance? What happened? Did something get jammed in there, and go out and kind of fix that kind of thing? But it seems like because Tesla bot is in there, I think they're looking at sort of the same kind of test engineer that you would have for seeing what the Tesla bot is doing in all these, let's say, these production environment tests that they're going through right now. And if they want to be doing a night shift, it means like they want to do it 24/7 to keep collecting data. They're not just going to say, oh, we just come in for 8 hours and then, we let the rest of the day kind of go idly by. We need to collect a lot of data. We need to go through. We want these robots operating nonstop. And part of the night shift might be that they can only do it during that time because it might be interrupting production. So you don't want to have the Tesla bot out there during normal production. Or it is getting to be part of production. And, usually there's at least one day during the weekend where they're shut down, where they do a lot of preventive maintenance and everything else. And that might be part of what they're talking about. So like a night shift and a weekday when it's down, that we could actually do it then. They're getting close. They definitely are getting close. The other way around,
Scott, my guess is that, being super optimistic here, the bot is actually already working. If you have a bot working, it's going to be working night shifts. It's going to be working 7 days a shift. And so they probably turn it off one day of the week. I agree with you, but it might already be working. And that's why they need somebody watching over these bots during the nights and the weekend, that one weekend.
Yeah,
day.
could be.
It could actually be already there.
Could be. Yeah. So it might be there, whether it's like fully deployed or whether it's still kind of the little testing phase. It's sort of hard to tell, but it's to the point that they want it to be running a lot, and they want to have a lot of data, and they want to start training people to understand or give the feedback. What's the difficulty when this problem happens? How do we debug it? That's always going to be a problem, is that they're going to figure it out and they're going to have to document this, what we did to fix it. Okay, we put it in. So when someone else sees that problem, we know exactly what the fix is.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com. So, okay. Huge developments just in the last 2-3 weeks here. You've got Amazon hiring, going full deep on this. You got the government of China saying we got to be world leaders by 2027. That's a blink of an eye. You've got Tesla showing their humanoid bot and they're hiring like crazy. You're basically showing demos now of agility, how it's already working. It already can do a job. It can already be effective and functional with not really much of a brain at all. You don't need that. You don't even need the digits, the fingers, to already be useful in certain very specific jobs. And then what we did today is, because of your experience, you showed how you've got the orchestra of industrial robots, mobile robots, humanoid robots, and these bot animals that can all have a role to play. Thank you so much, Scott. This is fun, and we're going to be covering more and more of these news as they come out. And so just follow us. Follow Scott on X at Going Ballistic 5, and he's always keeping close tabs to not only bots but also SpaceX. So